Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. The glittering lights of the television studio seemed to cast a halo around Mel Owens as he stood poised, the final rose in his hand. To millions of viewers, he was the golden embodiment of charm and sophistication, a man seeking love in a world that often seemed too cynical for romance. But behind the cameras, away from the cameras, a storm was quietly brewing. Cindy's daughter Emma had always been a private person. She was the kind of woman whose laughter could light up a room, yet her heart carried a depth of emotion that few could ever touch. But lately, she had been restless, unsettled. The reason? Mel Owens, the star of this season's Golden Bachelor. Emma had followed the show from the very first episode. At first, it was harmless curiosity. Her mother Cindy's fondness for reality TV often pulled her along. But as the season progressed, Emma's fascination turned to concern. She watched the interactions, the roses, the tearful confessions, and something inside her began to worry. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't envy. It was fear. The first red flag. Emma's concern first sparked during the group dates. Mel had always been charming, witty, and kind, but sometimes kindness could be dangerous. One particular evening, Emma's eyes were glued to the screen as Mel shared a private moment with a contestant named Vanessa. The world saw laughter and flirtatious glances. Emma saw hesitation. "Mom," she whispered to Cindy, voice trembling. "I don't know. There's something off. I don't know if he's really seeing who she is, or if he's just swept away by the moment." Cindy had smiled, dismissing it as overthinking. "Emma, you're reading too much into it. It's a TV show. It's supposed to be dramatic." But Emma couldn't shake the feeling. Something about the way Mel held Vanessa's hand, the intensity of his gaze, and the sudden awkward silences spoke volumes. There was a hidden tension the cameras couldn't capture, and Emma felt it in her bones. The heart of the concern. Emma's worry wasn't just for the contestants. It was for Mel himself. She knew him, not personally, of course, but through the glimpses of his life that had been shared in interviews and features. Mel was a man with a history of trusting too easily, giving his heart fully before truly understanding the other person. Emma feared the inevitable heartbreak that lurked just beneath the surface of the glamorous rose ceremonies. Her mind raced with scenarios. What if Mel's choice was guided by charm rather than substance? What if he gave his heart to someone whose intentions weren't true? What if, in the whirlwind of cameras, roses, and tears, he ended up shattered? Every time a contestant confided in him, Emma felt a pang of anxiety. Her mother noticed her unease. "Emma, you can't control this," Cindy said one evening, trying to calm her. "Mel's an adult. He knows what he's doing." "But Mom," Emma replied, her voice barely above a whisper, "sometimes people don't see the danger until it's too late. I don't want him to get hurt." Breaking her silence. Finally, after weeks of silent worry, Emma decided she couldn't hold back anymore. She took to social media, posting a heartfelt message that instantly went viral. "I've watched Mel on The Golden Bachelor with admiration, but also with concern. I care about the choices people make with their hearts, and I worry that Mel's golden exterior may hide vulnerability he isn't aware of. Please, let's all remember that love isn't just about the rose. It's about understanding, patience, and trust." The response was immediate. Fans, contestants, and even former reality TV stars chimed in. Some criticized her, some supported her. But one thing was clear. Emma's words struck a chord. Mel, sitting in his apartment, scrolling through his phone, paused when he saw the post. A strange warmth spread through him. He didn't know Emma personally, But her words resonated. They reminded him of the stakes, not just the spectacle, but the real, raw emotions that came with opening one's heart. The emotional fallout. As the season approached its climax, Emma's anxiety grew. She watched each rose ceremony with bated breath, her hand clenching the edges of her sweater. Every smile from Mel, every whispered confession, every tear shed on screen felt magnified through her lens of concern. It wasn't unfounded. Behind the glitz, the pressure of the show weighed heavily on Mel. Contestants vying for his attention weren't just competing for love, they were competing for the chance to be seen, heard, and remembered. In that environment, Emma feared hearts could be easily misread, intentions easily misunderstood. Then came the night of the finale. The cameras panned over the breathtaking location, roses glistening under the soft moonlight. Emma watched silently, feeling a mixture of dread and hope. Mel approached the final two contestants, holding the rose that would decide everything. Emma's breath caught in her throat. One misstep, one misread glance, one fleeting moment of doubt, and it could shatter someone's world. A daughter's intuition. Throughout the season, Emma's friends had teased her about living Mel's life through the TV, but she knew better. She had intuition, a gut feeling honed by years of observing human behavior that something pivotal was about to happen. When the final rose was presented and Mel's choice was revealed, the world erupted in cheers. But Emma noticed something subtle. The hesitation in his eyes before the choice, the brief flicker of uncertainty. Her worry hadn't been about the contestants. It had been about Mel, navigating love with sincerity in a world that often demanded spectacle over truth. And though the final rose had been given, Emma realized her role wasn't over. She had spoken, she had raised awareness, and she had reminded everyone, including Mel, that even in a world of glamour and cameras, hearts are delicate and love is real. The aftermath. In the days that followed, Emma continued to watch, but with a newfound sense of peace. Mel, she realized, was resilient. He had faced the pressures of the show, navigated the intensity of emotions, and ultimately made a choice that reflected his heart, not just the spectacle. Cindy, seeing her daughter's concern transform into reflection, smiled. "You did the right thing, Emma. You spoke your truth." And Emma, who had once feared heartbreak from afar, now understood something profound. Caring for someone doesn't always mean protecting them from the world. It means reminding them of their own strength and the authenticity of their heart. The media frenzy began in earnest. Cameras and microphones trailed contestants like shadows, and every whispered conversation was dissected in tabloids. Emma found herself caught in a strange limbo. No longer just a viewer, but someone whose voice mattered. Fans on social media rallied behind her, sending messages of gratitude for her honesty, while others accused her of overstepping. But Emma ignored the noise. She wanted to understand Mel's experience beyond the rose ceremonies. So she reached out to a former contestant, Leela, someone who had been eliminated early but had a unique perspective on the show. Their conversation was revealing. "People think it's just a game," Leela said softly, her eyes reflecting exhaustion. "But every interaction, every date, every confession, it's real. Hearts are real. And Mel, he feels everything deeply. You can see it in his eyes when he's unsure." Emma nodded, grateful for the insight. This wasn't entertainment. This was human emotion, raw and unfiltered. And the more she learned, the more her concern for Mel grew. Mel's vulnerability. Meanwhile, Mel himself had begun to process the whirlwind of his season. The cameras had captured him at his most charming, most decisive. But what the audience didn't see were the quiet nights, the internal debates, the moments of doubt. One evening, alone in his apartment, he scrolled through the flood of social media posts, some praising his choice, others criticizing it. Then he saw Emma's post again. Her words were different now, tinged with empathy rather than concern. He stared at the screen. She understands. It was rare for someone outside the show to see him so clearly. The realization struck him. Even amidst roses and televised drama, there were people who recognized the weight of his heart. Contestants spoke out. The Women Tell All special aired the following week, revealing the hidden layers of tension, heartbreak, and competition. The contestants shared their emotions, from unspoken crushes to fears of rejection. Emma watched from home, tears welling up as she witnessed the honesty behind the scripted smiles. Vanessa, the runner-up, spoke candidly about her experience. "I wanted his love more than anything," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But I also wanted him to see who I am, not just who I can be on camera." Emma clenched her hands. This was exactly what she had feared. The risk of emotions being misread, of love being judged by appearances instead of depth. Then a moment that made Emma's heart leap occurred. Mel addressed the camera directly, a raw vulnerability in his eyes. "I know I made choices that looked perfect on TV, but the truth is, I had to navigate my own heart, my own doubts, and sometimes I wished someone could see the real me, not the golden version the cameras captured." Emma felt a surge of empathy. Her concern had not been in vain. Mel's struggles were real, and her instinct to worry had been valid. An unexpected connection. One evening, Emma received a message on social media from Mel's publicist. To her surprise, it wasn't a generic fan response. It was personal. "Mel has seen your post. He wants to thank you for your honesty. Would you consider a private conversation?" Emma's heart raced. She wasn't sure if she should say yes, but something inside told her it was important. She agreed. When they finally spoke, Mel's voice was calm but tinged with emotion. "Emma, I don't know you, but your words, they reminded me to trust myself, to remember that love isn't just a moment on TV. It's everything that comes before and after it. Thank you for caring enough to speak up." Emma felt a warmth spread through her. She hadn't influenced his decision, but she had reminded him of his humanity, of the vulnerability he carried even when the world saw only the golden exterior. The ripple effect. Emma's involvement sparked a conversation among viewers about the true cost of televised romance. Fans began sharing their own stories of love, heartbreak, and vulnerability, connecting over the common thread of human emotion that the show often glossed over. Meanwhile, contestants who had felt invisible suddenly felt seen. They realized that their experiences weren't just entertainment, they were real. And for Mel, the experience became more than a season of roses. It became a journey of understanding, of recognizing that love required courage, not just from the person giving the rose, but from everyone involved. Reflection and growth. Months later, Emma reflected on her journey. She had started as a concerned viewer, someone watching from the safety of her living room, but she had become part of the story, a reminder that the heart cannot be measured in episodes or ratings. Cindy watched her daughter, proud. "You spoke up when it mattered," she said. "You reminded everyone, including Mel, that hearts are fragile and love is sacred." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of closure. Her worry had transformed into hope. And though the cameras had stopped rolling and the roses had been given, she knew that the lessons of empathy, care, and courage would linger long after the show ended. Closing thoughts. In the end, The Golden Bachelor wasn't just a spectacle of romance, it was a reminder that love, in all its complexity, requires awareness, patience, and respect. Emma's voice, once silent, had spoken for countless viewers who understood the risks of opening one's heart. And Mel, He had emerged not just as a bachelor who chose a partner, but as a man who had learned to honor his own vulnerability, guided in part by a concerned, caring observer who had dared to break her silence. Love, as Emma had learned, isn't just about the roses, it's about the courage to feel, the wisdom to understand, and the bravery to trust one's heart, even when the world is watching.